Hello world, from whichever time zone you're catching me from, my name is MD90. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notification to all so that you do not miss the uploads that come up. And the easiest way for you to navigate the channel is to head to the playlist. You'll find videos curated for you based on your interest. So if you're interested in the Kutika podcast, you'll find a playlist for that. For news and trends, there's a playlist for that. Exclusive with MD90, a bunch of playlists that are created based on your interest. So the easiest way to navigate the channel is head straight to the playlist and you'll find what you're here for. Consider becoming a member of the channel. Right next to the subscribe button is the join button. You click on the join button so that you can become a member of the channel. You support the team on the production and a number of things that we're doing here, and we appreciate that.
Well, the conversation of Plan B seems to still be in session. So Mashake Kashambata, this is a UPND supporter based in the United States of America, pretty much a Zambian diaspora, put up this post. It says, UPND is ready for all scenarios. Plan B, C, D, E, F, up to Z. Bring it on. And then he puts a thank you in a Zambian format, pretty much saying, whatever the opposition might have at hand in terms of preparing for the 2026 elections or general elections, the UPND is ready for whichever scenario they present, be it the Plan B that was reported by Edgar Chagwa Lungu right after he lost that court case. So they said they're ready for all those scenarios. And Joseph Singer says someone who stays outside the box, meaning Mashaka might not be aware of the situation on the ground, but he has proven it several times to say, because it's in and out of Zambia most of the time. I think he comes back to Zambia, if not 3 times or so in a year. So he has already done a trip in 2025, and then he also did one, should have been in December, if I'm not mistaken. So, and every time he comes back in the country, he always says to say, all those that say I'm not on the ground, look at me mingling with the people. So, I mean, it's politics at the end of the day. He has to push his candidate and he has to push his own agenda. So that's expected. The opposition shouldn't be, be upset that he's saying that. So just prepare, as he says there, they are ready for all scenarios. But on the other hand, Laura Miti put up an article dedicated to the current government and also President Hakainde Hichilema. So if you remember when President Hakainde Hichilema became president, should have been in 2021, Laura was appointed at one of the commissions, either the Anti-Corruption Commission. She was on one of those boards. And since then, I think she either resigned or was fired. I can't remember the details. So she put up this article dedicated to them, which was also quoted by Reverend Walter Mwambazi. He also put up his own version of Laura's article, and then he added something. So the Reverend Walter Mwambazi says, "Today I woke up to an interesting ranting by librarian, liberty critic Madame Laura Miti, where she rates the current regime with a pottery 4 out of 10. So she rated them with that grade. So he says if the ultimate grade was 10, the UPND would have scored 4 out of that 10 on governance. I was one of those, this is Reverend Waters' article now, before Laura's version comes in. So Reverend Water says, I was one of those that had a great expectation of our new dawn government, was very excited and watched the swearing ceremony. I also watched the full speech and he made at a time after being declared the winner for those elections. I am not politicking when I say this. The speech he made on that day was so potent and full of hope, making us so expectant and happy to be Zambian, believing we were being ushered into an exciting new era where meritocracy and pragmatism and good governance and transparency would be the hallmark of and cornerstone of this administration. The reality 4 years down the line is nowhere near this. Quite depressing actually. One almost feels like the people have been gongered. Pretty much the people have been duped. So he puts quotes there. The people have been gongered. Perhaps I'm reading too much into events, but what I have in my preferable mouth right now is a bitter aftertaste. Meantime, read on. So he says that at the moment, the situation of the UPND is left a bitter aftertaste in his mouth. That's Reverend Water. Then he goes down, say, read what Laura writes. So now he attaches Laura Mitty's article. And this is what she had to say. If I were to rate how a different United Party for National Development, UPND government under Hakainde Hichilema has been from the Patriotic Front, PF, under Edgar Lungu, purely on governance, I would give the current administration 4 out of 10. This is Laura's article now. President Hichilema's government's main achievement, in my view, are exponentially reducing the power and especially presence of party cadres in citizens' everyday life. That is a huge, high, commendable. That is hugely high commendable. So he says that's where President Hakainde Hichilema scored. That's one. She goes further to say, 2, if one works for the civil society, democracy, and has also retained the everyday work life, meetings are not being disputed by cadres or disrupted by cadres, and lodges are being, lodges being forced to cancel paid for events at the last minute because the DC or some random power has threatened the lodge. So those are the grades that she's giving them. Says that's where President Hakainde Hichilema scored. She goes further to say, 3, we do not have ministers threatening to break citizens' bonds and fugitively and literally, figuratively and literally. That's another 3. And then 4, a return to ordinariness in the state of gatherings, etc. So she writes. Unfortunately, so she, those are the 4 points where the UPND has scored, according to her, with regard to cadres and people being disrupted in their daily life. And then she goes further to say, unfortunately, but it were the progressive changes, that's where the progressive changes end. And then now this is where sadly, the government and the government, the same with the last one following in critical filings, trying to pass a constitution, that is for no good and the country, but so randomly ambushed the citizens as they clearly aim to passing provisions that guarantee its own stay in office and benefits those that are in the corridors of power. She highlights that's where they fell. Let me try to expand this article. She writes, and then 2, arrogantly passing laws whose aim is to constrain citizen rights. That's 2. 3, arrogance of power, doing things because it can keep doing things because it can keeping information to citizens need to understand and is going to be secret. The ECZ report on delimitation, for example, no reason to why it is in the hands of the citizens. And then 3, failing to address the corruption within its own ranks or prevent a runaway theft of public resources, as shown in government's own audits, while ongoing and on about corruption in the previous administration. So she says that's where they are failing. She goes further to say, failing to show that the institution that should be operate independently are actually doing so. So it says the institutions that are supposed to operate independently are not doing so. Oh, by the way, the reason I am comparing the government, the reason why I'm comparing this government to the last one, or last, is because its basis on which everyone insists to evaluate its success, so she says. So that's a rating of President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND. She says she gives them 4 out of 10 in their performance. And then obviously the Zambian diaspora had a debate about this and other things. So Mashake and George were having a back and forth. So Mashake Kashambadra said, when we explain the economics on the cost of minimum, you always say that it does not matter, the prices have gone up. So we say minimum prices are down, and you do not know the supply and demand of economics. Now, is it to say what for us? So he asked to say, when things are bad, you ask us to explain. You don't want us to explain. When they are good, you want us to explain. Obviously, George laughs at that to say, I mean, that's a fair analysis. So pretty much, and that's the fabric of Zambian political space. People can have debates and different opinions and still be cordial. What is Cornelius Mwenda says, UPND admits challenges in convincing public of economic progress. So according to Chief Government spokesperson Cornelius Mwenda, according to Phoenix FM, so he says, UPND spokesperson Cornelius Mwenda has acknowledged that the difficulty of convincing the public of the country's economic progress despite their systematic crisis management, and particularly in the energy sector. In an interview with Phoenix News, Mr. Mwenda has attributed recent economic improvements to deliberate policy reform rather than chance. He has cited government's intervention in the agriculture, mining, and manufacturing sector as key driving growth, and reaffirmed that his administration is committed to stabilizing costs of living and fulfilling campaign promises, emphasizing that sustainable growth will eventually translate into tangible benefits for citizens. According to Mr. Mwenda, ongoing policy measures, including increased agricultural productivity and value addition in the mining sector and expansion to the local manufacturers, are expected to support long-term economic and resilience to improve household welfare. So that's according to Cornelius Mwenda. Says the UPND admits the challenges of convincing the public that there is progress in the nation. Obviously, Mashake and George were still going back and forth with regard to the price of meal there. Just some debate there, some healthy debate we must add. And then Mashake put up this post saying, Ati Hakainde Hichilema promised us, is he your boyfriend? Abantu Vamo. So that post triggered George, and George was like, Mashaka. Once posts like this start is a sign of something else. The contract is very clear from his own mouth. Promises were made. To suggest that the Zambian people cannot hold him accountable is not right. And the manner in which this is done is not right. So he says, I mean, if the president had promised, people have every right to hold him accountable for his promises. So those are just political debates going on. And obviously, Mashake had a debate in the comment section with someone said, the manner in which what is done, he asks George. You cannot personalize a presidency asking for a promise to be made to bring meal to at 50%, where even you now, that's an impossible anywhere in the world. The meal made from from the kidney to the Wako serious. And then obviously someone, Albert Kasuba, responded to him, says probably he's not voting for Hakainde Hichilema. And then Mashake responded to him, says, you did not vote for Hakainde Hichilema, so that doesn't matter. So whether you vote for him now or you didn't vote for him in the previous thing, your vote didn't count even then, like you didn't vote for him in the first place. That's his argument there. What is President Hakainde Hichilema? Thank you, farmers. Maize harvest projected to be 3 metric tons. So a bumper harvest is expected. The president put up a message on his Facebook page. What is in the daily liberation? Mine Minister Tayari called me stupid idiot. That's the DC. Some people think I am attacking him by inspecting CDF projects in his constituency. So that's a back and forth between Minister of Transport and some DC, should be also from Ndola there, who was inspecting his projects. What is the mass newspaper? You will not steal Lumezi. Opposition solidly united in stopping UPND Membe. So obviously the by-elections that are coming up in Lumezi, the opposition say they were likely to field one candidate. Let's wait and see if that will be the case, if they can come to an agreement on that. And then in the news diggers, we are in a better place than Patriotic Front PF lawlessness has reduced, says ex-LAS president. What else is in the news? Hakainde Hichilema UPND walking the talk on Copperbelt roads. That's in the Rainbow newspaper. That's the first time I'm coming across such a newspaper. And then the mass newspaper also says the UPND puppets. Opposition parties are fielding on candidates in Lumezi, sponsored by UPND, UKA, SP. So that's the argument that Harikalawa is putting up there, saying, no, it's actually Socialist Party that put up that statement to say, if any opposition party feels its own candidate, that simply means they're funded by the UPND, allegedly. Anyway, those are just politics. And that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good day.